today's War Thunder video, we're going to be looking over some of the new UI changes for War Thunder, and we'll also be looking at some of the new key bindings added for the update Seek and Destroy. The first thing to note is that the new UI changes that have come to the game have changed a ton whenever it comes to how your lineups work and also how the tech trees work within the game. The first thing to note is that you can actually hide the ranks within the tech tree now, so you no longer have to view them. For example, let's just say that you're completely done with rank 1, 2, and 3, but you need to continue with 4. You can hide the previous ones, so it's just not a bunch of clutter on your screen. But to be quite honest with you, I don't really see a huge issue with the tech trees as they are now, but I do see this as a really cool system to be like, you're going to quit playing War Thunder for a little bit, let's just say like 3 to 6 months or something, and you want to save where you were at within the tech tree, because even if you don't play War Thunder for a very long time, there's still a ton of vehicles and you want to kind of remember where you were at within your tech trees. So this could be a very good way to kind of do that, especially if you don't like spading a bunch of vehicles or you just like going towards top tier. This can get you a bit of an edge whenever you come back to what you were actually doing whenever you left off of the game. That's the only reason I would see actually using this, but if you want to remove some of the ranks so there's just not a bunch of clutter, you can also do that as well. So here's the more important thing about the UI changes. You're now able to actually drag and drop vehicles into your lineup from the tech tree. So let's just say you open up your tech tree, you want a vehicle within a lineup, you can actually just click on it, hold it, and then drag it into the crew slot that you wanted to go into. This is really cool because you're actually able to do this in reverse. So let's just say you want to remove your lineups, you just click on the vehicle, you click and hold it, and then you drag it to where it actually removes it from the lineup. So the next one that they've changed whenever it comes to UI is really huge, because you're able to actually now change where your vehicles are within your lineup. So you're actually able to change your crew slots, which has been a highly requested feature even since I've been playing a game in 2013, because as we all know, the beginnings of the game, like your first tech tree you ever played, your crew slots are very disorganized. They're probably just randomly put in there. But then whenever you played other tech trees, you organize them to, let's just say that your first slot is always your plane, and then the rest of your slots coincide with something like a heavy tank, a medium tank, light tanks, etc., right? So if you want all of your tech trees to look the same now, you can actually do that. So whenever you're hovering over your crew slot, you just hover over the center of it, and there will be a new thing that looks like a swap thing going like left and right. Click on that, and then you're able to actually swap it with a different crew slot within the lineup. Now, the only thing about this is that it does not change over like your crew points or anything like that. So it's not like a freebie to just switch over something like that. If you want to change over the vehicle, you still have to pay for it. But this is completely free. Let's just say that you want your plane slot to be in slot number 1. You will now be able to do that. The only thing about it is that yes, it does not change over any of your crew points, which is honestly a pretty good thing. Another thing to note about it, as of right now of the making of this video, it is completely free to do this. So if you're going into a setting of where it's telling you to pay Silver Lions, this is not the correct way to do it. And then also, I don't think it should ever cost GE. So you're completely free to just change them over and over. If you mess up because the new system is a little bit confusing, don't worry, just replace it where you wanted it to begin with in the first place. So now we're on to keybinds. There's a ton of new keybinds within the Seek and Destroy update, and some of them are quite annoying. And if you're looking to get rid of some of the annoying ones, this is the type of video that you want to watch, because I'm going to show you some ways to get rid of them if it is possible to do it for the particular vehicle. There's this new setting that they've added, which is called Visual Weapon Selector. It's what it's called within your settings. So if you want to search it up to change it, that's all you have to do. What this does is that it's defaulted to Shift A. You hit Shift A, it opens up the weapon selector where you're actually able to switch your weapons with your mouse. Now, in my opinion, I don't think this is completely worth it unless you just don't have enough keybinds and you need something like this to be useful. For me, at least, I just use the number keys on my keyboard whenever it comes to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is normally what I use for the weapon selector, so I just use that for basically everything. If you want to know more about weapon selector, I think I did make a video on it, so definitely go look at that. This video is just dedicated to the new stuff within the major update Seek and Destroy. So this is a new setting you can put on, is Shift A. Shift A is a horrible keybind. Whoever at Gaijin decided to do this, why would you ever do this? Because most people play with WASD, so whenever people hit Shift A, they might accidentally turn on this new setting, which means that it could get them killed within their aircraft, especially if they're trying to evade like a missile in top tier. So it's a very bad keybind, and in my opinion, if you're not using this completely at all, I just recommend getting rid of it completely whenever it comes to the keybind. Once again, it's called Visual Weapon Selector, and it should be on your screen now. Also, another thing to note with this new system is that it only counts for vehicles which have the custom loadouts. So if your vehicle currently does not have custom loadouts, whenever it comes to your aircraft, you will not see this setting at the bottom. But if it does have the setting, and I'll also show you ways to get rid of it, because even if you turn off the keybind, it still will be at the bottom of your screen, annoying you because it's something that is completely worthless for you now because you're not even using it. Now, as of right now, at the time of making this video, there's only 2 ways that I know how to get rid of this. If you know a way to do this, I will be be in your gratitude forever, because I have searched and searched and searched on how to just get rid of this setting because it is just annoying, especially in a vehicle which does not even use it, like the P-51H. So the first way to get rid of the weapon selector is honestly kind of a bad one, because it affects ground forces and as well as naval at the same time as it affects aircraft. So you have a main parameter that you can actually change off under battle interface called show action bar in battle. Now, if you change the setting off, it does affect your ground forces as well as naval, because it completely removes the bottom menu that shows your artillery, shows your shell types, and all that sort of stuff. So it is not completely good to turn this off if you play other game modes, but if you're just playing air, you can turn it off and you will no longer see this at the bottom of your screen. The next way of doing this is actually a little bit janky, and it's by having a targeting pod. So for example, the Harrier GR7, if you put on a targeting pod, or any vehicle that has a targeting pod, you can actually use the keybind of collapse and expand action bar in battle. Now it does remove it, but there's still a little bit of a thing at the bottom, but it's completely better than it is as of right now, where it's just completely on your screen and a little bit annoying at the end of the day of things. So it's a little bit janky way to do it. Hopefully Gaijin does introduce something to actually get rid of this thing forever without affecting other game modes, but as of right now, these are the only two ways that I figured out to actually remove this thing. And Gaijin, please fix. It's very annoying, and hopefully by the time that this video comes out, they've actually fixed it with some sort of update or patch note. And if they had, I will put it in the comment of this video on actually how to do it, so be on the lookout for that. The next thing to focus on is the new way Gaijin has introduced countermeasures. Now you're able to separate your countermeasures whenever it comes to chaff and flare to only drop one type at a time with the keybind switch countermeasures. Right now it's defaulted to left shift D. Once again, most of you are playing on WSD, so switch it to something that is not going to interfere with your current setup whenever it comes to movement. But overall, it's a really good thing that you're able to switch them out now, because you're able to save, let's say, your chaff for actually going against radar threats, and then you're able to use your flares whenever there's IR threats and you're not wasting one of the types because you're not actually engaging that type of missile at that current time. Also, for another little bit of a UI change, Gaijin has actually made it to where you can pick how much chaff and flare that you want. So for example, if you're playing at the lower missile BRs, you can bring more flares because you'll be seeing majority of the time a IR missile, and then you can bring some chaff whenever you see that random radar missile shooting at you like an A9C. But most of the time at the lower missile battle ratings, you'll probably bring a majority of your flares, and then once you start to get into the top tier where there's new active radar homing missiles, you're probably going to go into the area of maybe actually bringing more chaff. So it's a really cool thing that they're actually introducing. So now you can actually have two things that's really good for countermeasures. You can separate them to only drop the current one that you currently need, and then also you can bring a mixture of how much you need whenever it comes to your chaff and flare. Finally, we have one last thing to note, and it's the change with air realistic battles. You're actually able to introduce a new setting to it, which lowers the player count from 16 versus 16 to the possibility of seeing an 8 versus 8, or even something like a 12 versus 12. But the only thing about this is that's not 100% a guaranteed that you'll ever get these matches, because it requires people who are queuing at the same time as you to have this setting on as well. So it's going to be a very hit or miss thing if you actually get these matches. But if you want my opinion, and I'm just going to be a messenger in this, if you want to let Gaijin know that you want these smaller matches, more people need to turn this on. But the fact of the matter is, the more people within the game, the more possibilities of a chance that you have of getting RP and SL. So bigger matches means more possibility of having more stuff to do. But then also you have the fact of, do you want better gameplay? And that's a huge thing for a lot of people, especially with these new top tier missiles, which seem to be insane right now. Do you just want to grind and it doesn't really matter how much deaths you get or how much people there are in the game? It's just one of those things to kind of realize, and it honestly would just determinative of what Gaijin does in the future. But if people turn this on and Gaijin sees that people are turning it on, maybe they'll introduce smaller and smaller matches, but we'll have to see. So if you like this video, I have similar videos to this where we go over some more keybinds, especially if you're newer to the game. These keybinds can help you a lot, like definitely going through the majority of the thing, because War Thunder can be definitely overwhelming. So if you want to check out a video, it'll be at the top of the screen now. Hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next War Thunder video.